everybody. So let's get into chapter 22 of Proverbs. I'm going to start out in the Amplified version, and we're going to flip-flop a little from Amplified to King James. So the first verse says, "A good name earned by honorable behavior, godly wisdom, moral courage, and personal integrity is more desirable than great riches, and favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and poor have a common bond. The Lord is the maker of them all." Verse 1, when I read that one, I thought about, people that, in a sense, tarnish their name. They get into bad things for a season, and it's almost like they have to reprove themselves to society, to their family. So that's what that verse is saying, is that a good name is more desirable than riches. At verse 3 in the King James says, "A prudent man or a wise man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." A wise man can see an attack coming. He can see where, and he can discern, okay, something's coming. He can feel that warning from the Lord, like, be on your toes. Don't be paranoid, but be on your toes. Verse 4, "By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life." Verse 5, I'm going to read in the Amplified version, and it says, "Thorns and snares are in the way of the obstinate, for their lack of honor and their wrongdoing." Obstinate meaning perverse here. "He who guards himself with godly wisdom will be far from them and avoid the consequences they suffer." Verse 6 is a verse that we all know, especially if you are a mama or a daddy. And it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." When our kids are little, that is when they start to develop who they are. They start to develop their morals, their foundation. Their perception of the world is formed in those early years. And so it's very important, like this verse says, to train up your child in the ways of the Lord, because he's always going to go back to it. And it's also flip-flopped. If you grow up in, those people that grow up in chaos, and they grow up, and their daddy's not in the picture, their mom's not in the picture. They grow up, and a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, they go to people like that. They go to dysfunction. They go to things that they're comfortable with, because that's all they know. That's what they grew up in. All right, so let's keep going. Verse 7 in King James says, "The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is the servant to the lender." Verses 8 through 10, I'm going to read in the Amplified version. "And they say, he who sows injustice will reap a harvest of trouble, and the rod of his wrath with which he oppresses others will fail. He who is generous will be blessed, for he gives some of his food to the poor. Drive out the scoffer, and contention will go away. Even strife and dishonor will cease." Verse 11, back in King James, says, "He that loveth pureness of heart, for the grace of his lips the king shall be his friend. The eyes of the Lord preserve knowledge, and he overthroweth the words of the transgressor." Okay, in Amplified, I'm sorry, not King James, it says, verse 13, "The lazy one makes excuses and says, 'There's a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets if I go to work.'" Basically, people that are slothful and lazy, they're going to make an excuse to get out of something somehow, some way. I know we all know somebody who is going to get out of doing what they're supposed to be doing. They will come up with something to get out of it. Verse 14, back in King James, says, "The mouth of strange women is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord, or disgusted of the Lord, shall fall therein. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him." When I read this verse, I thought about the generation today, the generation of kids coming up today. Not that I am a perfect parent because God knows I'm not. But I think about these kids who are not getting any discipline and this gentle parenting nonsense. You see the fruit of that, just complete chaos, no respect for elders, older people, anybody really. And it's like children need to be taught. They need to know this is what is expected because they are born not knowing. And when it's saying foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him, that is what discipline does. It drives out this foolishness, this disrespect, this rebellious part of kids that just don't really know right from wrong. Verse 16 says, he that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Verse 17 says, bow down thine ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee. They shall with all be fitted in thy lips. I got to get it closer to my eyes because I can't see. Verse 19, may thy trust may be in the Lord. I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. Have not I written to thee excellent things in counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee know the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that send unto thee? I'm going to read that to you in Amplified. Verse 21, it says, to let you know the certainty of the words of truth, that you may give a correct answer to him who sent you. Basically, you need to know this word, so when people start coming at you trying to tell you this, that, and the other, you need to be rooted in this word so you can give a good, solid, biblical answer. Right? Verse 22, rob not the poor because he is poor, neither the oppressed, the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the soul of those that spoiled them. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. I want to read that again. Lest thou learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. When you are around people that are angry, that speak with an ugly mouth, how can I say this nicely? It even says right here that you will begin to take on these things. You will begin to pick up their mannerisms, their words. Have you ever noticed when you hang out with somebody and they say things, certain like phrases, you start saying them, like you catch yourself saying the things that they say? Well, if you're like that and you're around somebody with bad fruit, it says you will get a snare to your soul. Verse 26 through 29, I'm going to finish it out in Amplified. And it says, do not be among those who give pledges involving themselves in others' finances, or among those who become guarantors for others' debts. If you have nothing with which to pay another's debt when he defaults, why should his creditor take your bed from under you? Do not move the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property which your fathers have set. Do you see a man skillful and experienced in his work? He will stand in honor before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. So this is chapter 22, and I will see you next time for chapter 23.